This is the time and place for the City Commission meeting here in South Dakota on January 3rd, 2022, 5:30 in the evening. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Weinreich.
Here.
Gregg.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the agenda? And there's any changes there? In the commission? Seeing none, I know we have a change from HR director.
Yeah, I just have an amendment to the consent in my memo. I had the dates.
Why don't you come up? Yeah.
So I gave you all a new memo. I had my dates for last year, 2021. They should have been 2022, so I changed the memo. So it just needs to be changed on the consent and the minutes. So nothing huge, just a little date goof for the change of the year. So,
Okay.
all right?
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the updated memo from HR Director.
Commissioner Weinreich's motion to approve. Need a second on this item?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Robish. Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Public forum. Public forum comments may be sent to us during the live meeting broadcast at the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city's website at www.hursd.com/citygovernment. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with the YouTube and Gmail or using your existing accounts. Please state your name and address for the record. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Our HR Director, Nathan Hofer, is sitting on our computer in the back of the room. If you have any questions, you go through YouTube or Gmail to ask some questions, and he will relate that to the commission. We'll try to answer them as soon as we can tonight. With that, is there anybody got anything for public forum? Commissioner Weinreich. Yes.
Thank you. Just an announcement from the public library in January, starting January 2022. For the whole month of January, adult patrons can contact the library to have any unpaid overdue fines waived throughout the month. And any unpaid fines or overdue items held by children or teens will be waived automatically at the start of 2022. So let's begin the year with a clean slate. This does not include any lost or damaged items. And for any more information, please contact the library at 353-8530. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Any other comments tonight for public forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. 4.1, regular meetings of December 27th, commission meetings. 4.2, raffle, Huron Chamber and Visitors Bureau for leadership of Huron on January 22nd to Norbit Exhibit Hall. 4.3, authorize the mayor to sign a combined election agreement with the Huron School District and set April 12th as the election date. 4.4, personnel items. Recognize Rick Nelson, Street Maintenance 1, has completed his 1,040 hours and is eligible for supplementary benefits. 2, recognize Les Hewitt, Street Maintenance 1, completed his 1,040 hours and is eligible for supplementary benefits. 3, recognize that Tyler Waldner, firefighter, has completed his 1,040 hours and is eligible for supplementary benefits. 4, recognize Forrest Adley, police officer, has completed his 1,040 hours and is eligible for supplementary benefits. 4.5, payment of the bills. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent.
Commissioner Smith moves to approve. Need a second?
Second.
All right, second, Commissioner Weinrich. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Sprague.
Aye.
Robish. Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 5, bid quote items. Brett, would you discuss 5.1 for us?
Thank you, Mayor. 5.1, consider payment request number 10 to Gritter Construction, Inc. for bid number 2021-05, Phase 1 wastewater treatment facility improvements in the amount of $871,036.45. This would be the 10th pay request for the wastewater project. Basically, the big item on this pay request, besides the general construction that's been occurring, is there's some stored materials for the SBR equipment that's on site here now. So that was one of the bigger items that's on that pay request. Project's moving along well. Cold weather obviously slows construction this time of year, but everything looks good for schedule on completion for next fall. So we recommend approval of the pay request.
Need a motion to approve?
I would move that we approve the pay request.
Okay. Commissioner Bragg moves to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Sprague.
Aye.
Robish. Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 6.1, petitions and communications. Brett, would you talk to us about this?
Thank you, Mayor. 6.1, consider approval of the 2022 through 2026 water and sewer infrastructure improvements preliminary engineering report submitted by DGR Engineering and authorized to submit the report to the state for American Rescue Plan Act funding. So basically, DGR Engineering completed a preliminary engineering report for the city, and on that, from 2022 through 2026, it's water sewer improvements for the city. It's basically the city's 5-year plan that we had on plan improvements. We really didn't make up any new projects for this preliminary engineering report or look at new projects. It was kind of things that have all been planning for. Some of the projects might have been phased later out, but we moved them up so that they were possibly eligible for funding through that ARPA funding or American Rescue Plan Act. So that's, if you look through there, just kind of go through a couple of them just to kind of give you an idea of what those projects consist of. We just included a summary of the report in the packet, but the full report is available upon request. But basically, there would be water main replacement improvements. We do that every year in the amount of about $1 million, give or take. There's the drinking water capacity expansion. We know that we need to look at either expanding the existing water plant, or we need to look at added water capacity with Mid-Dakota Rural Water. So that's part of that development and figuring out what direction we need to go there. More funding is available if it's a regionalization type project. So that may, once we get into the study phase of that may dictate that we go more regionalization with more water with Mid-Dakota, for instance. Other things would be just meter upgrade packages that we're looking at doing through the city with upgrading some water meters. There'd be the water supply improvements project, which is the river water irrigation project. We're going to try and get some funding for that through the ARPA plan. There would be the sanitary sewer collection improvements. That's basically our sewer lining projects for our sewer mains and our manholes. We do lining every year. We try to line a certain amount for that, for water, or for sanitary sewer. There's lift station replacement. We do that every year, every couple of years we replace a lift station. There's about 30 of them throughout the city, so we kind of have them on that cycle. There's the wastewater treatment facility pumping station rehab, so that'd be the phase 2 of the wastewater treatment facility upgrades. That is a project that maybe we slid further forward. It's in that 2026 realm, 2025 realm, but we slid it forward here a little bit to be part of this. Just because we're submitting it doesn't mean we have to do it in the end. That's the other thing, So it's just what we're looking at right now as we're planning. We're in planning stages. There are the SCADA improvements. That would be the last phase of our SCADA improvements that we're looking at. And then finally would be the fairgrounds storm sewer improvements, which that's that storm sewer pipe for the Dex facility. So when you look at the final page, there in your packet, it's a table, and honestly the table is probably a little more confusing than it needs to be because it includes a column for ineligible costs, which doesn't really apply in the end. But there at the top, there's 5 columns, one column for each year, 2020 through 2026, and that shows the phasing of these projects and the dollars that we're looking at for those projects right now. And you'll see the green portion of the column, that would be your clean water SRF, so that'd be like your storm sewer sanitary. Oh, it's not, okay. So the first column, which is CWSRF, that's clean water SRF. Thank you, Paula, and they're not colored.
Designated color, mine was sorry.
Thank you. But so that CWSRF stands for Clean Water SRF. That's a different SRF program for sewer and storm sewer work. Then there's the DWSRF column. That's drinking water SRF, so that would be your potable water portion of that. And you can kind of see those costs if you look down those columns of 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. In total, the cost that we're looking at is about $60 million over the next 5 years. That number, I don't want that to scare the commission or the residents of Huron. That is not necessarily that the city's looking at spending $60 million over the next 5 years. When we're in a planning stage like this, we have to include cost for inflation, and right now inflation is incredibly difficult to predict. So we've got some extra buffer in there because we don't want to receive funding and then that funding not be enough, right? So that funding's always on a percentage anyways of what you actually do. So, but there'd be inflation costs, there's engineering costs in there, some of this stuff we may do in-house. There's always contingencies costs that we have included in these things that, hopefully you don't have to use all that contingency, but when you're in a preliminary planning stage, you have to include it. So that number is inflated, I would say. So that's a longer summary than maybe you wanted, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understood what was included in this. And we are looking for approval of the preliminary engineering report and approval, authorization to submit the preliminary engineering report for the ARPA funding.
Okay. I didn't introduce him. Yeah, that was our engineer, Brett Runge, so I thought I should introduce you. I usually do, but I forgot to tonight, but for that report, I thought I'd better tell him who you are.
Now that I know he's properly credentialed, I would move that we approve the.
Thank you. Have a motion to approve? We need a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Robish. Okay, any more discussion for Brett on this? Yes, sir.
So what is the time frame for when these would potentially be approved? Have they given us a time frame?
So the next deadline for submitting is February 1st. We are going to push and try to get this submitted with your approval by the end of this week. Because we have been told by basically the DANR, which they're the ones, the department that's in charge of distributing this funding, that the sooner we can get our submittal in there, the sooner we get on their spreadsheet so they know to expect this for cost. So they're thinking about it because basically the legislature is going into session now, right? So this money's going to start, they're going to start looking at rolling this out, figuring out what projects are real and how they're going to divide this money out. One thing I didn't mention is that on these projects, approved projects are looking at a minimum of 30% support. And depending on the nature of the project, you may get more. So, but we want to get on that list, their spreadsheet, so they know these projects as soon as we can. So the actual acceptance of it would be, if you apply for our February 1st, is it March?
March.
March meeting, I believe. Thank you, Paula.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, excuse me, we'll probably be coming back with, from Ted Dickey, applications again on the state law.
Any other questions, Commissioner Smith?
A little bit outside of the scope on this, Brett, but you mentioned drinking water and with Mid-Dakota. Where are they at as far as lead up time to when they're going to be predicting higher demand? I
When they're-
mean, let's say that we commit to another 1,000,000 gallons of water. Do they need to know that 2 years in advance, or do they
I
just
would-
open up the spigot and let it run, or?
I would say they would need at least 2 years of notice on that, because they don't have the ability at this point to get us any more water than what we're getting right now.
Yeah,
They're working on some bottlenecks in that line. They've done some work. You've seen from basically Pier all the way up to Miller. You've seen some
Right.
of those improvements, right? But at this current time, they are not able to give us more water than what we're currently receiving. They have projects that they're looking at in the near future. But beyond that, if we were gonna take another 1,000,000, there is a chance that they may need to look at expansion of their treatment in general too, because they keep expanding their treatment facility, but they keep finding places for it to go. So that's kind of where this goes. So one of the pieces of when we go to do a study and we start working through some of this with the DA&R would be okay, well, we could spend this money to basically upgrade our facility and expand it, that we have. Because right now we're doing about a 25-75 split, so 25% water from the city of Huron, 75% water from Mid-Dakota. Maybe we increase our capacity a little bit to supplement that more. But instead of sticking that money into that facility, the DA&R or the state would rather that we look more at regionalization projects with like Mid-Dakota, where that money goes towards Mid-Dakota's plant to expand more, and they'd be able to treat more or supply more than just to the city of Huron. So that's in there, but yeah, that was a long answer, I guess, to your question. Basically, at least 2 years, I would say they need to know. So we would be looking at, in the next year here, planning for a study on this probably. Is the plan. It won't be 2022 because we don't have a budget. We're probably budgeting a study in 2023.
And let's say that it sways a whole different direction, we have to rely on our well field. Do we have the capacity or the ability to draw what we need out of there?
We'd have to have an expansion of our current well field, so we'd probably have to add a well or two possibly. And some of that all depends on the geology they would have to look at and look at the water availability there. But yes, there would be some expansion of that. Right now, we are utilizing pressure filters for treatment, so basically you'd kind of mirror image what we have right now a little bit. We've got 2 pressure filters running. We can add a third. We have room. It's kind of, the facility was designed for the ability to add that third filter and increase capacity. So there's room to increase some capacity at fairly limited cost. But the well piece becomes, I guess, Rob, where are we at right now as far as pushing the wells for
I
use?
think we're probably okay right now. The capacity, the problem is that with the filters, each filter can only do like 900,000 a day. So we can do shy of 2 million, which is okay this time of year. But as soon as spring hits, it's not even close.
Yeah.
So our peak capacity that we can put out with Mid-Dakota water is about 5.8 million gallons per day. And looking at the last 5 years, and June happens to be one of our troublesome months, it seems like. Our last 5 years, we are hitting 5.2, 5.3 on our peak days. So we're 500,000 away, 500,000 away from being at, capacity there, right? We got breathing room, but, as the city grows, as we find new ways to utilize this water, that's what we're looking at.
Do you remember what was the volume of, if the dirty water irrigation, how much was that? Because that would come off of that in the peak months. Do you remember how much?
That is about 500,000, about 500,000 we could take off from that, which gives us a lot more breathing room suddenly. So some of these projects listed in this study to kind of play off each other a little bit. We currently are under contract right now for a study for the dirty water or the James River water irrigation right now, and we've actually put some COVID money towards that study, so, but that is ongoing at the moment.
When do you expect that to be done, Brett? Do you have any idea? The study is what I'm asking.
Yep, I think we were looking at May or June. We wanted it done in time so we could plan for budget season.
Okay. Thanks. I know it kind of got outside of the realm of your report, but it all kind of ties together. The concern being of having enough drinking water, clean water, you know, because I know we're bumping up against that top level when we're at peak.
Yep, and the scheduled watering has helped. We're still using the same amount of water a year essentially, but it's taken those, did what it was proposed to do, to take those peaks off, right? To
Right.
kind of shave those peaks and kind of spread them out is what it did. And that's honestly given us the breathing room we have over the last couple of years, so.
Thank you, Brett.
Any other questions on this topic? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Wainwright,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thank you, Brett. 6.2, we're gonna have our city attorney Tucker Valesky explain 6.2.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, 6.2, consider memorandum of understanding with Dakota provisions regarding wastewater surcharge rates and authorize the mayor to sign. Pursuant to the commission's request at last meeting that I prepare a memorandum of understanding, I have done so, reflecting that the city of Huron agrees to work with Dakota Provisions. Dakota Provisions agrees to work with the city of Huron to improve its pre-treatment plan. And while the city and Dakota Provisions are working to improve pre-treatment, this provides that the water surcharge rates will go back to the rates charged in 2020, and that will be for the time period December 1st, 2021 to May 1st, 2022.
Need a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Smith, move to approve. Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Roper, second. Any questions on this topic for Tucker or anybody else up here? This is kind of what we talked about last week, so now we got it down in writing, and we can go from there. No more discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Wainwright,
Aye.
Gregg,
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Our last item on the agenda is an executive session to talk about personnel issues. So,
Need a
we
motion.
need a motion to go into executive session.
Move to executive session.
Commissioner Smith, second. Commissioner Weinberg, thank you. We're in executive